glass. Here for another live. Just gonna go over a few things that I want to work on this week. I filmed a portion of a YouTube video about programming kilns this morning, and I did another exercise where I worked on some Jesus seals. It's a bit of an exercise that I really wanted to go over for quite some time. It's a cool process. I've got a few pieces of glass here that I'm gonna share, but I just wanted to try and get this going on my computer at the same time. See if I can bring up the live chat in a easier way than I usually do. But at the moment, so I've got a Bluebird XL. It runs the Sentry Xpress 4.0. That's I'm going to try and get into this pretty deep, go over any kind of questions that people have about running a kiln like that and programming cycles in the tutorial I'm working on. But for now, I also wanted to show, this is the old one. So I'm going to show how I did this. So this is, this one's a little rough. So I probably did this 7-8 years ago. And what you do is you bend a tube. I think this is some 16 by 2.5 or so, 2 point something. So you heat up a section, give it the nice bend, kind of like hold it, give it a U shape, get it to sit still. And then you start puffing out blisters the whole way down. And I saw my live video right here. Just gonna open it up on the computer screen, get that muted, and let's see if I can bring up the live chat on my computer screen so I can actually see you guys talk and if anybody says hello. So if you are here hanging out, get in the comments, let me know. Love to see who's here. Yeah, got the live chat there. My mouse is awful on top of this little book. Okay. Let's grab that keyboard and say, what's happening? Okay, cool. So glad to see that's working. I've always struggled to do any kind of, questions and comments in my lives from the shop, because doing everything from your phone all by itself can be difficult. So yeah, like I was saying, I've got a Bluebird XL. I've had it like 8 years. It's a great kiln. Paragon makes good machines. I wouldn't mind getting a scut eventually. I have looked at other kilns and considered them. I would like something bigger. The Winter from Illinois. Oh, that's I feel like you guys get colder weather than me. Like every so often, I feel like I'm way up north and it's really cold. But we're coastal and it's been raining like crazy. It started freezing like a couple days ago. Yeah, so I've got like all my paperwork from the kiln. Like I had to replace a relay a couple years ago. I think my first relay lasted me like 6 years. It's a solid kiln. And yeah, I've got like things about fire brick maintenance. You got the manual, it's all there. It took me a long time to get around to actually learning to program an annealing cycle. It seemed really confusing for a long time, and once I finally tried, it's like way more simple than you might imagine. And there's a variety of things that a kiln can do that, just a simple ramp hold cycle isn't going to do. For a long time, I would just program my kiln to 1050, which is like the annealing temp, and I would pretty much hold anything at 1050 until it was done annealing. And then I would actually program a couple steps. I would just hang out and like go back to the shop and program 925, which is like just around the strain point, and then like let it sit, go back inside, do something, and then I'd maybe program an 850 step and then walk away and shut the thing down afterwards. But I was always nervous that the kiln wouldn't fire properly through these programs. And once I finally got in a situation where I was absolutely tired of doing that, I was trying to work on some big, like thick marbles, and my kilns program would have gone well through the night. So I didn't want to, wake myself up at 2 or 3 in the morning. So yeah, I went ahead and like started learning to actually program the ramps and everything like that. And it's pretty straightforward. Once I get into the video, I'll go through clicking all the buttons and showing everybody exactly how you can kind of like program a cycle. And you can always like edit your target temperature. There's like 2 buttons. Like if you're at 1050, you can go, I think it was up, and then it'll say change, and you press start, and then you can actually edit the target temperature down to 925 or whatever, up to a striking temperature, because you might want to do a striking cycle and you are probably going to be in the shop while it's happening, or I would be anyways. And I would ramp the kiln up to like 1125 or 1150 or something, let it hold for a short while, and then ramp back down to below annealing temperature. You want to get pretty cold in between those striking steps. I usually actually have a little bit better luck just kind of flame striking when I'm working with, silver fume and some of the frits that have, or not just frits, but striking colors. So yeah, there's a few things that I do to keep my kiln running when it's cold out. Speaking of winter, there, from Illinois, you might get some mornings where the kiln doesn't want to fire, and you'll get the I think it's like a TCL, the thermocouple lag. That's pretty much just the kiln's taking too long to warm up, and the controllers, I think it needs 9 degrees per a certain amount of time, and if it's not going up by that amount in that period of time, the kiln will kick out, because it's assuming something's wrong. Like, your door, if you just leave the door of the kiln open, it could let all the heat out, quick crash, could be bad for things in the kiln and the kiln itself. So yeah, the machine will turn itself off. But I'll often just throw my fingers on the thermocouple and warm it up a little bit. So I'll go over like all that in the upload when I finally get around to it, and I'm gonna go through that book and see if I can pick out any other gems for you guys, because there's definitely some solid information in the manual, but it's not all useful. It's got things about like lost wax burnouts and stuff like that, so you could make molds and stuff. Kiln, there's a lot of processes that a kiln can go through that a glass blower is never necessarily going to need it for. So I can go through those like major important things like ramp hold cycles and kiln annealing schedules, and yeah, that'll be a good upload. I think, I'm sure it'll be informative for some people, and maybe even elucidate some of the concepts around how we operate with a kiln and things like that. But the next thing I wanted to talk about was the Jesus seals. So this is a cool little project that I found years and years ago. I showed you this one already. So if we get into this, like, it's okay. I didn't know a hell of a lot about condensing the walls back in when I did this one. So there's a lot of wiggliness. Yeah, I need to learn more about kilns too. It's and I feel like knowing what I figured out in the like once I started using the programs, what really improved a lot of things. So like I'd like to, it's like a quality of life improvement. and it can totally do a few more things than I'm letting it do. But yeah, I didn't know a hell of a lot about doing Jesus seals when I did this, and that's why I bent a tube and I started doing one after another. And like as a welder, I've been, you know, in school doing welds, certain positions, things that are overhead. So you've got like hot metal falling on you while you're working, and you know, molten metal. You're trying to keep it on the ceiling. Some of those processes can be very difficult, and I learned very early that just rinse and repeat. You do especially the things that are the hardest. You want to do that thing over and over and over. So little exercises like this, if you can find stuff in glass that can let you do a process repetitively, it's, you know, it's efficient. You've kind of like, I did, I think I did 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 Jesus seals today, in a row. And I did 5 at the bench torch and 5 with my hand torch. And the first one that I showed you guys, if you look at this tiny, I never had enough hole space when I did this last Jesus seal to really get that. You can just see that little tail of glass kind of poking out. You can see it in there too if you look carefully. And there's also, you know, this like evidence of where the wall melted back in right here. There's a few things that you can learn from doing this over and over again. So I'll show you the first one that I did today, because I did this one just with my bench torch. I didn't touch my hand torch, and I wanted to kind of explain how the hand torch is actually far more effective for this sort of thing. So what I did, I start with the bend, and I didn't quite heat enough glass up. That's why I have this big little, like, it's a big bump in there. And the other one actually managed to melt out a lot better. There's a little bit of wiggliness. My initial bend was actually perfect, but the tubes were too far apart, so I had to kind of squish it to get them back together so I had the distance I wanted. Because as you can see, there's not a lot of space here, and there's quite a bit more here. And getting that distance kind of right is it's a big part of making this process easy for yourself. So this didn't quite have enough room, and by the time the glass touched, I hadn't thinned the membrane enough. So it stayed really thick, and it never quite popped. If you look through the wall here, just on this side, there's a bit of a hole. And that side opened up, but the rest of the membrane never really wanted to melt in, which is not what you want. And that was because the walls were a little too close. And then I moved down. These couple were really good. And then I got a little hasty on this one, and I managed to pretty much make a really thick membrane that I couldn't pop. And that was essentially because I was at the torch. The time it takes to go from being in the flame to looking at the glass and puffing kind of slows it down, and it makes it more difficult to thin that membrane and make it pop. So the last one, and as you can see, like all those Jesus seals, a lot cleaner. There's a couple little spots where I would have liked to work the wall in a little better, but as you can see, none of those membranes didn't fully melt in. And that's because as I could directly look at the piece and have the flame on the glass, I could puff and kind of have a lot more control, and you could kind of do little puffs a lot faster. And that helps kind of suck that glass out of the membrane inside. And I even at the very end made a mistake here. As you can, like, there's some little bubbles. So that's the very last one that I was doing, and I got a little hasty. So I popped a hole, and I actually filled that hole back in with a rod, and fix that up. So in the tutorial, I'm gonna like really go over exactly how I messed this one up and how I did these ones perfectly. And I can kind of like put it all together and show you some of the common mistakes and what might be make this a little more difficult, and then ones that happen really fast and easy. Because I think I had been working on this for almost 20 minutes before I decided to give up on that first one. And I had, I think, 2 or 3 of these done in about 16 or 17 minutes on the second round with the hand torch. So it was quite a obvious improvement, and I really wanted to show the difference because, I mean, I did these one after another, one with the bench torch and one with the hand torch. You can definitely see how much cleaner all those Jesus seals are. And I'm definitely going to do this a few times. I'd like to, there's actually a bit of a twist to these. If you, yeah, they're not quite level, or, yeah, the back one, if you see it kind of climbs up. I really want to make these kind of like perfectly even, no twist to the 2 tubes, and then use it as components in some projects that I've been thinking about. So an excuse to repetitively produce some Jesus seals and really dial in the process. That's the kind of thing you want to do. Like, you want to get better at glass, doing things that are hard over and over and over. Forget everything else. There was no real finished product in mind when I started doing these, even if I do want to maybe chop them up and use them as components for some things. So for now, I think I might shut this down. I've got a couple video files to load into my editing program and start working on throwing up some content. Hopefully you guys want to check out the Kiln video and the Jesus seal video. I've got, like, I actually managed to do the Jesus seal video. I put my didymium filter on the lens and had the camera on the workbench, and I think it was a really solid angle. I moved the camera around a couple times, so I got some real good close-up shots of doing the Jesus seals, and you can really see the glass expanding when I'm puffing. So I think I might be able to really like explain the process well and give you guys some good pointers on how that works. But otherwise, yeah, I think I don't know if anybody wants to just hang out while I start editing. I might just slide the camera down this way, and yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, I'm just gonna turn on. So I actually edited my I'm just gonna leave the live stream going. I don't, why turn it off? My computer's running. Things seem to be working. I'm just at the moment putting up. Let's see if this works. Yeah, there we go. So this is. You can see the live chat in the background there. And this is DaVinci Resolve. So this is a editing program that's open source. It's a pretty high quality program, actually. Free to download. But there is a pro version that you can get if you ever purchase their cameras. They have these, I think it's Black Magic is what it's called. And they have some really high quality cameras that they make that works well with the editing software. I don't have one. I'm just filming everything on my iPhone, so I'm sure it's all. I don't need Hollywood quality cameras, but they do make them, and this program totally works with them. So let's bring up my YouTube projects file. So I got my Jesus seal file off in the corner over here, and I can drag that into my media pool. And having that in the media pool will bring up both of the videos that I did today. And I think I'm going to put the second one down in the timeline to start. So there we go. And now I can kind of scroll through the project. I was really satisfied with this bend here. So when you, it's one of those things that when you're starting doing a bend of a tube, I'm just like, let's do a little sneak peek on the beginning of the tutorial. So if you're gonna do a bend, you want to heat up like 2 or 3 times as much glass as you actually want the bend to include. So as you can see here, hear my ventilation system burning. But yeah, we got like a solid 3 inches, even going on to 4 inches of the tube heated up. And that's just a 16 mil tube. And then we puff into it right there. You can see it expand a little. And that was like a really perfect U-bend. Not always easy. I actually didn't move the tubes close enough to each other, and I squished them together after this and totally mess up that beautiful bend, which is a little bit disappointing, but there's no way I was going to cross that gap with Jesus seals. So, how do you guys like my my high-vis jacket? It's actually I found that jacket at the thrift store. It's fire rated, so it won't burn even if I dip the sleeve in the torch. Well, it'll burn. It just won't burn onto you or anything. There's no plastic kind of fabric to melt onto your skin. I don't know if anybody ever thought about that, but you ever melt plastic clothing, like what do you call it? Polyester fabric. Probably not a good thing to have on your sleeves in the shop. Yeah, just scroll through this so you can kind of see how I'm starting that Jesus seal with the hand torch. And I'll be editing this down to a consumable format. Now let's turn that screen a little bit. Cool. So yeah, you can definitely see here. I was pretty happy with this camera angle. Wait. Stop sign? Are you talking about? I'm confused. Yeah, Morbeck, let me know what you mean, like my stop sign. I'm confused. Oh, is that about my jacket? I love that thing. I actually, I help manage a music festival, and the group of us really likes high-vis gear. We, like, put traffic cones up and have like chains and pylons to make lines that go nowhere. Do all sorts of silly shit. It's fun. But yeah, just kind of running through this process quick on the Gonna scrub through there. Yeah, once I have a chance to do a nice voiceover of this, I can explain a lot of the like nuances of what goes on here. And I actually got real hasty on this last one, like I had said that that one I popped that hole in here. I'll find that spot where I start to. Yeah, you can see I come in with a rod, and I'm filling the hole right in the gap. It's kind of a pain in the ass filling holes in that kind of space, but at the end I ended up with a nice seal, so it still turned out pretty good, even if there was some bubbles in the glass from where it popped. Yeah. The whole traffic cop, have you ever seen Super Troopers? One of my favorite shows. I don't know where it is, but I've got a Johnny Chimpo. Oh, right here. Speaking of traffic cops, there's my Johnny Chimpo hat pin on my. I think this is a Jonathan Singer. Yeah, Jonathan Singer. Photographs of banjos work. It's grassroots hat. But yeah, always been a fan of Super Troopers. Hope you guys like that shit. Well, thanks for hanging out with me. I'm gonna kill this live and get on to editing. Hope you guys are excited. I've got some good content coming.